Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we.
Sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Doublespeak is language designed to evade responsibility, make the unpleasant pleasant, the unattractive appear attractive. Basically, it's language that pretends to communicate, but really doesn't. It is language designed to mislead while pretending not to.
Is it done consciously?
Oh, yes, very consciously.
It's a very pertinent question to ask, how do we build back better?
To build back better or whatever.
We have a chance to reset the clock and build back better than before.
To build back better than before.
Try to build back.
Build back better.
Build back better.
Building back better.
To do things differently. To build back better.
We're going to build it back better.
And build it back better.
It's my plan to build back better.
Some would say to build back better. We would say to really have a great reset.
I don't like words that hide the truth. I don't like words that conceal reality. I don't like euphemisms or euphemistic language. And American English is loaded with euphemisms because Americans have a lot of trouble dealing with reality.
That we serve not our only self-interests, but we serve the community. That's what we call stakeholder responsibility.
Given the growth of the power of communications and the sophisticated use of language, totalitarian governments would base their power upon the control of minds through language.
The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
And this was the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
The worst single act of political violence since the Civil War.
The worst attack on American democracy, arguably, probably since the Civil War.
These poor people have been bullshitted by the system into believing that if you change the name of the condition, somehow you'll change the condition. Doesn't happen. Doesn't happen.
People say, well, how can I help on this war against terror? How can I fight evil? You can do so by mentoring a child, by going into a shut-in's house and say, I love you. This society of ours is going to change one heart, one soul, one conscience at a time.
Contra killers are called freedom fighters. Well, if crime fighters fight crime and firefighters fight fire, what do freedom fighters fight?
I think of government as the third oldest profession, and probably from the moment government was instituted, doublespeak came with it. If I were a bureaucrat who would function within the bureaucracy using straight language, I wouldn't be taken seriously. It's a sort of ritualistic use of language.
Are you in this whole world of doublespeak because you want to get rid of it?
Oh, yes.
Any part of the country that was more interested in others?
Washington, D.C.
Universities also have a problem with doublespeak, don't they?
Oh, yes. Oh.
Too far did I fly into the future. A horror seized upon me.
Of what is great, one must either be silent or speak with greatness. With greatness, that means cynically and with innocence. What I relate is the history of the next 2 centuries. I describe what is coming, what can no longer come differently, the advent of nihilism.
He who knoweth the reader doeth nothing more for the reader. Another century of readers, and spirit itself will stink.
Right away they start talking about education. That's the big answer to everything. Education. They say we need more money for education.
Everyone being allowed to learn to read ruineth in the long run not only writing but also thinking. Once spirit was God, then it became man, and now it even becometh populace. He that writeth in blood and proverbs doth not want to be read, but learnt by heart.
We need more books, more teachers, more classrooms, more schools. We need more testing for the kids. You say to them, well, you know, we've tried all of that, and the kids still can't pass the test. He says, don't you worry about that. We're going to lower the passing grades.
Ye tell me, life is hard to bear. But for what purpose should ye have your pride in the morning and your resignation in the evening? Life is hard to bear, but do not affect to be so delicate. We are all of us fine sumpter asses and assesses. What have we in common with the rosebud, which trembleth because a drop of dew hath formed upon it?
And that's what they do in a lot of these schools now. They lower the passing grades so more kids can pass. More kids pass, the school looks good, everybody's happy, the IQ of the country slips another 2 or 3 points, and pretty soon all you'll need to get into college is a fucking pencil. Got a pencil? Get the fuck in there, it's physics.
It is true we love life, not because we are wont to live, but because we are wont to love. There is always some madness in love, but there is always also some method in madness.
Then everyone wonders why 17 other countries graduate more scientists than we do. Education!
I should only believe in a God that would know how to dance. And when I saw my devil, I found him serious, thorough, profound, solemn. He was the spirit of gravity. Through him all things fall. Not by wrath, but by laughter do we slay. Come, let us slay the spirit of gravity. Too far did I fly into the future. A horror seized upon me. And when I looked around me, lo, there time was my sole contemporary.
These people are efficient, professional, compulsive consumers. It's their civic duty, consumption. It's the new national pastime. Fuck baseball, it's consumption. The only true, lasting American value that's left, buying things.
Then did I fly backwards, homewards, and always faster. Thus did I come unto you, ye present-day men, and into the land of culture.
Buying things.
For the first time brought I an eye to see you, and good desire. Verily with longing in my heart did I come. But how did it turn out with me? Although so alarmed, I had yet to laugh. Never did mine eyes see anything so motley coloured. I laughed and laughed, while my foot still trembled and my heart as well.
Buying things.
Here, forsooth, is the home of all the paint pots, said I. With 50 patches painted on faces and limbs, so sat ye there to mine astonishment, ye present-day men. And with 50 mirrors around you, which flattered your play of colours and repeated it. Verily ye could wear no better masks, ye present-day men, than your own faces. Who could recognize you? Written all over with the characters of the past, and these characters also penciled over with new characters. Thus have ye concealed yourselves well from all decipherers. And though one be a trier of the reins, who still believeth that ye have reins, out of colours ye seem to be baked, and out of glued scraps. All times and people's gaze diverse coloured out of your veils. All customs and beliefs speak diverse coloured out of your gestures. He who would strip you of veils and wrappers and paints and gestures would just have enough left to scare the crows. Verily, I myself am the scared crow that once saw you naked and without paint, and I flew away when the skeleton ogled at me.
Buying things.
We look at the future of the global economy with great concerns. Too high inflation, too low growth, too many debts. But what is particularly worrisome are the consequences, such as falling back of hundreds of millions of people again into poverty and possibly tens of millions of people dying of hunger.
It's definitely complex, and it's moving in the wrong direction.
Right.
You know, I've been paying attention to these companies that are buying up affordable housing.
Yeah. Like BlackRock and Zillow.
Yeah, that's scary.
It is scary.
That's scary, because if they can move the entire country into renting, like...
That's right.
Nobody can own it.
Well, that's what they want to do.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
They don't want anyone to own anything.
If you get a giant majority of the population that are just renters, that don't ever own property, they never have their own real home.
Yeah.
And then you make sure that you control their wage, because you have massive corporations, whether it's Target or Amazon or whatever, and they limit the amount of possible growth you have within a company.
Yeah.
You will not be able to hide from Amazon and Alibaba and the secret police.
So how can Davos contribute to improving the state of the world? First, We know that all those challenges cannot be met by governments alone, by business alone, or by civil society alone. We need collaborative efforts. And the World Economic Forum here, Davos here, you here, I think it's the most impressive community for global cooperation. Second way of contributing to make this a better world is to look at all those issues in a holistic way.
And there was that article, You'll Own Nothing and Be Happy.
It is to deal with all the aspects of our global system.
And there was that article, You'll Own Nothing and Be Happy in 2030.
That is wild.
And this is, kind of, when you look at a lot of these think tanks and, groups of very powerful interests, when you look at the kind of world they want, they would like to get rid of things like car ownership.
Yes, I've been seeing that too.
They want to get rid of home ownership. Yeah. They want people to all be on the grid in a major way. They want surveillance, cradle to grave, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Should we have an atmosphere of optimism or pessimism? I think we should be joyful and grateful that we can meet again here in person. It's so important because confidence can only be built by personal contact. But let's also be clear. The future is not just happening. The future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room.
Social credit systems.
Yeah, and the only thing it's left to do seems to be to get in with them.
And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club.
We have the means to improve the states of the world. But two conditions are necessary. The first one is that we act all as stakeholders of larger communities, that we serve not our only self-interests, but we serve the community. That's what we call stakeholder responsibility.
Buying things.
And second, that we collaborate.
Buying things.
And this is the reason why you find many opportunities here during the meeting to engage into very action and impact-oriented initiatives to make progress related to specific issues on the global agenda.
Buying things.
The future is built by us, by a powerful community as you here in this room.
And the only thing it's left to do seems to be to get in with them. So that when they're doing this to everyone, you're with them.
Yeah, you're on the right side of the plexiglass.
Because here's the problem. People are marching into this willingly. They're like marching into it. It's like my aunt or the other aunt. Like people, as long as their team wins, they don't really care what rights they lose and what things end up looking like.
Yeah, they don't. There's a lot of people that don't.
They're always willing to trade away a little of their freedom in exchange for the feeling, the illusion of security. What we have now is a completely neurotic population obsessed with security and safety and crime and drugs and cleanliness and hygiene and germs.
Buying things.
Like all other rights, is not absolute. This isn't about taking away anyone's rights. It's about protecting children.
They don't really care what rights they lose and what things end up looking like.
This isn't about taking away anyone's rights. It's about protecting children.
Politicians have traditionally hidden behind three things: the flag, the Bible, and children. No child left behind. No child left behind. Oh, really? Well, it wasn't long ago you were talking about giving kids a head start. Head start, left behind? Someone's losing fucking ground here. But there's a reason. There's a reason. There's a reason for this.
And if democracy cannot adapt to these new conditions, then humans will come to live under the rule of digital dictatorships.
Too far did I fly into the future. A horror seized upon me.
Organisms are algorithms. Those who control the data control the future not just of humanity, but the future of life itself.
The conspiracy theories around Bill Gates bother me because this is me, dumb, naive, thinks that Bill Gates did a lot of good for this world.
Sure.
First, by creating a company that empowered personal computers, and second, by donating a ton of money for like treating malaria in Africa and all those kinds of things. And there's these huge amounts of conspiracies, I think, based on like just replies to whenever Bill Gates does anything. The thing I'm struggling with is if I'm Bill Gates, like, how do you behave differently? How do you show people that you're, if you're not, I don't know, doing creepy stuff that they're saying he's doing?
Well, I think part of it is that he's done some really good stuff, right? He's an innovative guy. He's in the vanguard of a lot of things. But he's also the Antichrist. And I think that is, they're not mutually exclusive. He is the Prince of Darkness as well as
Within a century or two, Earth will be dominated by entities that are more different from us than we are different from Neanderthals or from chimpanzees. Because in the coming generations, we will learn how to engineer bodies and brains and minds. These will be the main products of the economy, of the 21st century economy. Not textiles and vehicles and weapons, but bodies and brains and minds.
Here's my thing with Bill Gates. He's a Batman villain billionaire, meaning that he's not a villain, but he's got all this money, right? Here's the thing, and I love Musk and all these guys. I know you love these guys. Listen, when you have the kind of money that these guys have, and you have the vision that they have, and they want society to look a certain way, and a lot of them are doing great things, people, they need to get better at the pushback. They need to get a little better. When somebody says, hey man, what's going on over there? Bill Gates needs to be a little better at going, here's what.
Now data is replacing machinery as the most important asset. And if too much of the data becomes concentrated in too few hands, humanity will split not into classes, it will split into species, into different species.
Yeah.
Because, Bill Gates has the money. I think he once wanted to shoot a missile of dust at the atmosphere to help global warming. Yeah. And a lot of scientists were like, hey man, that might not be the way to do it.
Problem with being a billionaire is you lose touch with reality if you're not careful. I think Elon is good at least so far, maintaining touch with reality.
No, but if you look at the name of his child, you can clearly see.
Well, maybe we're in a simulation right now.
All that is unhomelike in the future, and whatever maketh strayed birds shiver, is verily more homelike and familiar than your reality. For thus speak ye, real are we wholly, and without faith and superstition. Thus do ye plume yourselves, alas, even without plumes. Indeed, how would you be able to believe, ye diverse-coloured ones, ye who are pictures of all that hath ever been believed? Perambulating refutations are ye of belief itself, and a dislocation of all thought.
The real root of suffering is this never-ending and pointless pursuit.
Untrustworthy ones, thus do I call you, ye real ones. All periods prate against one another in your spirits, and the dreams and pratings of all periods were even realer than your awakeness. Unfruitful are ye, therefore do ye lack belief. But he who had to create had always his presaging dreams and astral premonitions, and believed in believing. Half-open doors are ye, at which grave diggers wait, and this is your reality. Everything deserveth to perish.
Well, maybe we're in a simulation right now.
That organisms, whether viruses or bananas or humans, they are really just biochemical algorithms. And we are learning how to decipher these algorithms. Now, when the two revolutions merge, when the infotech revolution merges with the biotech revolution, what you get is the ability to hack human beings. And maybe the most important invention for the merger of infotech and biotech is the biometric sensor that translates biochemical processes in the body and the brain into electronic signals that a computer can store and analyze. And once you have enough such biometric information and enough computing power, you can create algorithms that know me better than I know myself. And humans really don't know themselves very well. This is why algorithms have a real chance of getting to know ourselves better. We don't really know ourselves.
So maybe we should be hopeful that this is a simulation, because otherwise...
So they could reboot it.
Well, otherwise, either we're going to create simulations that are indistinguishable from reality, or civilization will cease to exist. Those are the two options.
Listen, I do like him, and I do think what he's done with Tesla, you know, my producer has a Tesla, and he never shuts up about it. Most people that have Teslas never shut up about them, and they think they're part of the development team at SpaceX. And I like that he's created a world where people can get excited about a $37,000 car and never shut the fuck up about it, to the point where I have to threaten people with physical violence to get them to stop telling me about that their car drives itself.
Oh, you should get a
Maybe have
Tesla.
a few less drinks and a few fewer Vicodin, and you can drive yourself.
These people are efficient, professional, compulsive consumers. The only true, lasting American value that's left, buying things all day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy.
Alas, how ye stand there before me, ye unfruitful ones! How lean your ribs! And many of you surely have had knowledge thereof. Many a one hath said, there hath surely a God filched something from me secretly whilst I slept. Verily enough to make a girl for himself therefrom. Amazing is the poverty of my ribs. Thus hath spoken many a present-day man. Yea, ye are laughable unto me, ye present-day men, and especially when ye marvel at yourselves. And woe unto me if I could not laugh at your marvelling, and had to swallow all that is repugnant in your platters. As it is, however, I will make lighter of you, since I have to carry what is heavy, and what matter if beetles and maybugs also alight on my load? Verily it shall not, on that account, become heavier to me.
I know, but the problem is a lot of, like, it's just, you know, Epstein was very smart at, like, just getting people at that house and taking photos of them. You know, nobody knew what they were doing, but it's like, it was one of those things where it's like, Epstein was the most social guy ever. Like, every photo, he's like, hey, and it's like, everyone that's ever done anything in the world has been at that fucking island. Every human being is, like, in a photo. It's just weird, like, I'm in, like, it's funny, me and my friends get together, we don't ever take photos, right? Like last night, a few people, it was my birthday yesterday, I'm 17, and my friends came over, and we're just eating dinner, right? And we had a fun night, just 4 people that are over, nobody, right? Nobody ever thought, like, let's, hey, I want to remember it. Let's take photos, I'm 36, woo! But everything Epstein did, there's just photos of everybody. It's interesting.
I think it's possible that he is just an evil person who is after manipulating people and also was a pedophile. So there's a bigger thing.
Absolutely. No, it's factual that there's a bigger thing. Evil people don't get handed...
Those are your facts, Tim Dillon.
No, there's the facts of the case. You don't get handed a 65... Show me another evil guy who was handed a $65 million place by Les Wexner. Show me another evil guy that got that type of handshake deal where he was basically let off without anything after a judge had made a very sweetheart deal for him after he was accused of you know, molesting a 14-year-old. Show me another evil guy that doesn't have that kind of backing, that has those type of friends, those connections, those type of properties. Show me you know, multiple passports all over the world. So show me a guy without anyone backing him that's doing it.
I wish there was a way to, because everything you just said now is...
Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
I'm being indoctrinated on air. No,
you think there's just Jeffrey Epstein's just a fun random guy who just wanted to make home movies of presidents?
Well, you think I'm just some random guy? I'm just trying to sell myself as somebody who's friendly with the American audience.
I believe you are backed by people that want people to be more comfortable with robot dogs. I believe that. I believe you're pushed to be the happy face of AI.
Which is why I will edit this part out.
Organisms are algorithms.
They don't really care what rights they lose.
like all other rights, is not absolute. This isn't about taking away anyone's rights. It's about protecting children.
And rights aren't rights if someone can take them away. They're privileges. That's all we've ever had in this country is a bill of temporary privileges. And if you read the news even badly, you know that every year the list gets shorter and shorter and shorter. You see how sooner or later? Yeah. Sooner or later, the people in this country are going to realize the government does not give a fuck about them. Government doesn't care about you or your children or your rights or your welfare or your safety. It simply doesn't give a fuck about you. It's interested in its own power. That's the only thing, keeping it and expanding it wherever possible.
Like all other rights, is not absolute. This isn't about taking away anyone's rights. It's about protecting children.
All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy.
But my thing is, like, when you have a country that's this silly, where comedy specials are people coming out making serious points, you have late night hosts crying, you have, you know, the girl who threatened her mother on Dr. Phil is a legitimate star, right? Bad Baby. Remember that woman?
Oh, yeah.
She threatened to kill her mother on TV. She's a star now.
She has massive Instagram followers.
Massive, massive. Where does this go, right? Pictures of apes are selling for the cost of a Lamborghini. Our last president was the guy who hosted The Apprentice, and on his last day of office, a mob of lunatics ran into the Capitol to take selfies with fucking wigs on. It looked like a sketch I would do. Like, it really is, we're in like a fucking weird movie.
Do you remember when you were a kid and you would hear about the last days of the Roman Empire?
Yes.
Where they were just like eating till they couldn't take it anymore and then shoving a feather in their mouth and throwing up and fucking everybody.
Yes.
That's us.
And it's,
This
when
is that version
explained
of
like
it.
that, it sounds good. It
Sounds like
doesn't
a party.
sound that bad. But it is funny as a comedian when you step back and you go like, this is really, really crazy stuff.
It's crazy stuff, and the problem is I don't see a good ending. Because if we fall in, the other problem is we have to compete with China. And China has this amazing ability to control their population through propaganda and intimidation and, you know, total censorship, which we're like moving in that kind of general direction, which is really scary because the one way we may be able to compete with China is to become more like China, because otherwise, like, they're so integrated. Their government and their business is inexorable. They're connected. You cannot have a corporation where the government's not involved.
Right.
So the government makes decisions with the corporations that benefit the government, benefit the Chinese Communist Party, benefit the country in general.
All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy.
Like all other rights, is not absolute. This isn't about taking away anyone's rights. It's about protecting children.
And not from you, ye present-day men, shall my great weariness arise. Ah, whither shall I now ascend with my longing? From all mountains do I look out for fatherlands and motherlands. But a home have I found nowhere. Unsettled am I in all cities, and decamping at all gates. Alien to me and a mockery are the present-day men, to whom of late my heart impelled me, and exiled am I from fatherlands and motherlands. Thus do I love only my children's land, the undiscovered in the remotest sea. For it do I bid my sails search and search. Unto my children will I make amends for being the child of my fathers, and unto all the future for this present day. Thus spake Zarathustra.
Shell shock. Americans have trouble facing the truth, so they invent a kind of a soft language to protect themselves from it. And it gets worse with every generation. For some reason, it just keeps getting worse.
Thucydides in the 5th century BC in the Peloponnesian War, a very vicious civil war in Athens at that time. Thucydides points out that at that time, the very language itself became corrupted to their own ends. Acts of cowardice became acts of great bravery. Traitorous deeds towards friends became patriotic acts. And he cites the whole list. And it's interesting that Thucydides cites this corruption of language as the ultimate in horror that occurred during that civil war. Language that way can be terribly corrupting in a society and can mislead all of us. And in a democracy that depends upon the active participation of its citizens, it can lead to cynicism and resentment.
And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy. Operational exhaustion. Hey, we're up to 8 syllables now. And the humanity has been squeezed completely out of the phrase. It's totally sterile now. Operational exhaustion. Sounds like something that might happen to your car. Shell shock.
George Carlin uses a lot of the doublespeak in his routines, and he always credits me. And he called me up and he said, I want your book, but I can't find it. He couldn't even get it in his bookstore. He said he was trying to get the bookstore to stock it for me.
If democracy cannot adapt to these new conditions, then humans will come to live under the rule of digital dictatorships.
Post-traumatic stress disorder. Still 8 syllables, but we've added a hyphen. And the pain is completely buried under jargon. The dump became the landfill. Car crashes became automobile accidents. Partly cloudy became partly sunny. Poor people used to live in slums. Now the economically disadvantaged occupy substandard housing in the inner cities. And they're broke. They're broke. They don't have a negative cash flow position. They're fucking broke. Because a lot of them were fired. You know, fired. Management wanted to curtail redundancies in the human resources area.
You have to be aware of the language that's used in our society. You are just as much a consumer of language as you are a consumer of goods.
They're fucking broke. Management wanted to curtail redundancies in the human resources area.
Some would say to build back better. We would say to really have a great reset.
Has the world in 1984 come to pass? And of course there were people who said, no, look at, we haven't, and people said, oh yes it has. I think that in some ways it's far worse than the world that Orwell envisioned. On the other hand, it's not as bad as he envisioned. It is becoming almost impossible to control the information environment as tightly as Orwell envisioned it.
They're fucking broke!
Control of data might enable human elites to do something even more radical than just build digital dictatorships. By hacking organisms, elites may gain the power to re-engineer the future of life itself. How do you regulate the ownership of data? The future, not just of humanity, but the future of life itself may depend on the answer to this question.
They're fucking broke!
The decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq, anyway.
One last question, your favorite doublespeak word or phrase?
The Department of Defense, which until 1947 was the Department of War.
Said the stupid, you look like you could use a friend. And stupid says, that's great, I ain't never had me one of them. Then stupid said that evil, how does this friendship work? And evil says it's easy, you just stick your head down in the dirt. So stupid dug a hole and stuck his head down in the sand. And evil had free rein to carry out his wicked plans. Saw that stupid was truly stupid, and he had time to tear the world apart and split the people into tribes. He said that war can have a winner, and that greed is not a sin, and that man can judge another man by the color of his skin. And all the while stupid sat while the world burned to the ground, thinking, gee, well ain't it nice to have fun around.
We have discovered happiness, say the last men.
up his eyes one day and he saw that he'd been tricked. The rich had all grown richer while the poor all took a hit. And his friends were all in jail, and he lost all of his rights. And the people were divided, and the earth wasn't even fit for life. And he wanted to go back, but by then it was too late. Because stupid followed evil, and there was nowhere to escape. Cause stupid followed evil, and there was nowhere to escape.